Hello everyone and welcome back to Why Not Travel, and once again this is Robert and you're about to watch a ship tour of the Independence of the Seas. Before we get into the ship tour, let's talk about the Independence. She was built in 2008 and she is the last of the Freedom class ships from Royal Caribbean, which is essentially just the Voyager class but much bigger. We're going to start our tour on Deck 2 and work our way up. So on Deck 2, there really isn't a lot going on down here, but this is also where the conference rooms are on board the ship. So if you're having a conference for whatever reason on board the Independence, you will be heading to Deck 2. Now on to Deck 3, and we'll start in the aft of the ship and work our way forward. So in the very aft of Deck 3, you will find the MDR, also known as the main dining restaurant on board the ship, where you're most likely going to be spending your dinners at. Immediately walking from the MDR, you will come across the aft elevators and the aft atrium. That is one unique thing about the ship, is it actually has two atriums, not one, and I'll get into the reason for that in a little bit. The first floor of the aft atrium is actually the art gallery on board the ship, so you could come down here and preview the art before the art auction on board if you're into that kind of thing. Once you walk through the art gallery, you will run into the entrance of Studio B, but immediately past this entrance is actually the photo gallery. So if you have photos taken on board the ship and you want to buy photos, this is the area that you would want to come to purchase those photos. And finally, once you're past the photo gallery, you finally come to the main entrance of Studio B. Studio B is where all the ice shows are. They also do a laser tag in here, and sometimes they even turn this area into a nightclub on some evenings. One more thing I want to point out about Deck 3 is because Studio B takes up a big area on the ship, it actually splits Deck 3 in half, and you cannot get to the forward or aft because of Studio B. This is why there's two atriums on the ship. The aft atrium will take you to Studio B, where the forward atrium will take you to the Royal Theatre to see Broadway plays. Now on to Deck 4, and this time around we're going to start in the forward and work our way aft. All the way forward is once again the Royal Theatre, just the balcony seating, so we're going to skip that and go straight into Azumi's. Azumi's is one of the specialty dining options on board the ship. Here you could get hibachi or sushi depending on what you want for an additional price, but pricing is fairly decent and not too bad. From Azumi's, we end up at the Schooner Bar, which is an old Royal Caribbean favorite, and you will find a lot of people in here. This is also the piano bar on board the ship, and once in a while they do karaoke. But as everyone says, it won't be a Royal Caribbean ship without a Schooner Bar. Past the Schooner Bar is the casino, so if you're feeling lucky and just want to chance your luck, then you're probably going to head here at least once during your cruise. And this casino is actually fairly big as well. From your favorite slot machines to table games, they have it all. The only complaint that I really have is the wallpaper in here. I don't know who picked it, but yeah, it's not my favorite. But anyways, it is a fun time and everything, and the casino host is very friendly and will help you with all the casino offerings and whatnot that they have on board the ship. Once through the casino, you'll make your way into Playmakers, which is essentially the sports bar on board the ship. And they also have arcade games down here too. So this is a really cool place to hang out and chill, and they also serve food in here too for a la carte pricing. and it's just a lot of fun, and it really does feel like your friendly neighborhood sports bar. Now we're back in the aft atrium on board the ship, and in this section of Deck 4, you will find Boleros, which is the Cuban-style bar/lounge on board the ship, and it's on either side, and one side is more of a lounge and just a relaxing area, and the other side is actually where the bar is located, and there's also a stage and a dance floor where they play Cuban and Brazilian music and whatnot, so you could dance the night away. And no surprise here, all the way in the aft of Deck 4, you will find the MDR, which is actually the second floor of the MDR. One last notable spot on Deck 4 is actually where the lifeboats are located. This is a promenade that will run all the way around the ship, and it's also a very quiet area on board the ship. Now on to Deck 5, and there is actually a lot going on Deck 5. We're going to start in the aft and work our way forward. So no surprise here, we're once again back in the MDR, but this time we are on the third and final floor of the MDR, so I promise this will be the last time you see the MDR. And we are now back in the aft atrium once again. So this time around, on the left-hand side of the aft atrium, you have the champagne bar. Now, I know on other Royal Caribbean ships this bar is called the R bar, but surprisingly, they didn't call it the R bar on the Independence. It's just plainly stated as the champagne bar. And on the right hand side, you have guest services. Now, the main section of Deck 5 is the Royal Promenade, and simply put, the Royal Promenade is basically a mall that runs down the center of the ship. You will find Cafe Promenade, which is actually included, and not a lot of people know that, so I highly recommend it. Then you will find Ben & Jerry's ice cream, a candy store, the collection, the marketplace, you name it. If you want to do shopping, you're going to be coming to the Royal Promenade. But also, they also have Vintages, which is a wine bar on board the ship. And I thought that was really cool to see a wine bar, because you actually really don't see that. You will also find Michael Kors here if you want some name brands, your jewelry stores, etc. And then you will also find Owl and Anchor, which is basically a British-style pub. And it really does feel like you're in a pub when you're having a beer and a pint in this area of the ship. You'll also find Sorrento's here as well, which, if you're not familiar with Royal Caribbean, Sorrento's is also included, and this is where you'll get your pizza. They will make freshly cooked pizza 24/7 throughout your cruise, and this is where you will come and get it. But they also have some little desserts and snacks and whatnot, kind of like Cafe Promenade. All the way forward on Deck 5, past the forward atrium, is the Star Lounge. And the Star Lounge on board the ship basically is your traditional ballroom on board the ship, but they really don't do ballroom dancing in here, even though it's set up to be that way. They actually end up doing a lot of the game shows on board in this lounge, so if you're into Family Feud or just trivia or anything like that, it's probably going to be done in this lounge. Another thing about the Star Lounge that a lot of people don't know about, if you actually go through this door, it will take you outside to the promenade that goes around the ship. Now, towards the front of the ship, it actually goes up from deck 4 up to deck 5 because it actually takes you out to the bow of the ship. Now, this is a really unique feature on the Voyager and Freedom class ships, and because usually the very front of the ship is reserved for crew members. But on this class of ship, including the Voyager class, like I said, the two classes are similar, it's just the Freedom class is bigger, you're actually allowed to go to the very front of the ship. And this is very rare, and it actually makes for a good photo opportunity, and I highly suggest to just go out here because it is absolutely breathtaking. So for decks 6 through 10, it's all cabins, so we're going to skip over these decks because there really isn't anything there besides cabins. However, deck 11 is a much different story. We're going to start in the forward and work our way aft, starting with the gym on board the ship. And the gym on board the ship, I'm very, very happy, is the original design with the gym in the very front. And it is a very spacious and large gym for a cruise ship. The ceilings aren't as high as some other cruise ships, but they're still high enough that I don't bump my head in here, which I really, really appreciate. And I don't know, it just seems like they have more equipment in this gym than what most cruise ships have nowadays, so I really appreciate that. Another thing I want to point out is this staircase. That staircase goes directly into the spa, which I think is nice. I mean, they keep the spa and gym separate, but it's literally just one floor away and it's separated by a staircase. So you could get your workout, go get a massage, or the other way around. It's just a very nice setup in my opinion. Now on to the Solarium, which is the adult area on board the ship. And I must say, I really enjoyed the Solarium on board the Independence more than I did on the Navigator of the Seas, because I think it's because the Independence is a bigger ship, so the Solarium is also a little bit bigger, so it didn't feel as cramped, and it basically had the same amenities with the pool in the center and 2 hot tubs on either side and a bar in the center. It just seemed a little bigger. I don't know if that's true or not, but it did seem bigger, and I really like the mosaic and just the atmosphere of this area. And also a signature piece of the Freedom class ships is the hot tubs in this area. They're actually cantilever over the side of the ship, and I remember when these ships were first built and they showed these hot tubs for the first time, and everyone was just amazed. Yes, it's not an infinity style hot tub, but you gotta remember, this was the first time this has ever been done on a cruise ship, and it just blew everyone's mind. Now on to the family pool on board the ship, also the main pools on board the ship. And I actually really like this design. I don't recall Navigator of the Seas having it laid out this way, but I preferred this layout better. They still had the 2 pools on either side, but in between the 2 pools is a dance floor, and they also had a stage with a band that would play every single day, and I just really enjoyed that layout better than just the 2 pools side by side, and that is that. The downside though, and I'm surprised Royal Caribbean didn't change this in the ship's refit, is the seating around the pool. I mean, on Navigator of the Seas, there's a lot of sun loungers, hammocks, cabanas, just different styles and whatnot, which really brightens up the area and has a much different vibe. Where on Independence, that's not the case. It's more traditional. It's just sun loungers and that's it. And because of that, even though the ship was just refitted back in 2018, I believe, the last time I checked, it just makes the ship feel a little dated. However, once again, being a bigger ship, there is one area on the ship that the Voyager class, aka the Navigator of the Seas that I was also on, doesn't have, and it's this area right here, which this is the kids pool. And I gotta admit, if I was a kid and I saw this, I would be overjoyed. They have their splash pad, they have their own little pool, they have their own little hot tubs, they have water slides, you name it, they have it. And that really stood out to me. And also in this area is Fish and Chips, which is another specialty restaurant on board the ship, and you will have to pay more if you want to eat here. In the After Deck 11, you will run into the rest of the food offerings offered on this ship. First is the Windjammer, which is the buffet, then you have Chop's Grill, which is the steakhouse, and Giovanni's, which is an Italian restaurant. So once you're past the hand washing station, which the crew really do enforce the hand washing policy on board this ship, if you turn left, you will run into Giovanni's. And as I stated before, it's an Italian restaurant, which is another specialty dining, which you gotta pay more for. But it is still really good and prices are very reasonable too. Another thing I want to say about Giovanni's, and a lot of people don't realize this, is for breakfast, of course, it isn't open, but they do allow people to sit in here if you're just in the Windjammer having food. And we actually came in here a lot because the buffet was packed, but no one really came into Giovanni's, especially for breakfast, just to eat. And so it was a more quiet area to enjoy your food. Now, directly across from Giovanni's is the Chop's Grill. Now, Chop's, they always have it set up for dinner, so they never allow people to just sit in here to eat their food from the buffet because, as I stated, it's always set up to be a elevated experience. And with that said, Chop's Grill is the most expensive specialty dining restaurant on board the ship, but it is also very good. That is one thing about specialty dining that cruise lines do know, is you are paying more for it, so they know you're expected to get your money's worth, and you will definitely get your money's worth while eating in Chop's Grill or any of the specialty dining offered on board this ship. Now that we got the specialty dining out of the way, let's take a walk around the Windjammer, also known as the buffet on board the ship. And the one thing I really like about this buffet is how light and airy it is, and all the windows. I mean, no matter where you sit in this area, you're probably going to get a view of the ocean. I mean, yes, there's going to be exceptions, but overall, I really like the fact that there's so many windows and so many views in this area. Now, the issue is with this Windjammer, however, is it's the exact same size as the Voyager class, but the Independence, aka the Freedom class, is a much bigger ship. I think you could already see where this is going and the issue with this. Deck 12. And this time around we'll start in the aft and work our way forward. So deck 12 is by far where majority of the kids and teenagers are going to hang out. And the reason for this is where all the kids clubs are located on the ship. Besides the kids clubs, however, as we walk past one right now, Fuel, you will run into Johnny Rockets. And I really enjoyed this Johnny Rockets. They have seating indoor and outdoors, and it's just a good place to chill, especially if the weather is good. We had dinner here one night, and I also got a milkshake almost every single day of the cruise here, which was also very nice. And it makes sense that Johnny Rockets is located in this area of the ship, because this is where all the teen clubs are and all the kid clubs. So they do frequent here often to get milkshakes and hamburgers and whatnot. Just keep in mind it is not included, and it is another specialty dining, and so it is more. So how they designed deck 12 in the aft is they have a huge arcade in the center of all the kids clubs and teen clubs, and which I found very, very funny. So basically they really did build this area to be a kid hangout area. So they're either going to be in one of the clubs or they're going to be playing in the arcade. So as a parent, however, this is also not included. So just make sure your kids are aware of this, because you don't want to find out that they've been racking up your bill throughout the cruise because you thought they were in the kids club, but they were really in the arcade and buying milkshakes at Johnny Rockets. So on the other side of deck 12 outside is where you find all the ping pong tables, which if you're a cruiser, you already know ping pong is a classic when it comes to cruises. So if you're wondering where they are, this is where they're located. So we're going to start heading forward now, but we're going to kind of divert to the right for a little bit to walk along the jogging track on this ship. Once again, the jogging track is not its own area. So what I mean by this is this area is still clear and it looks good, but once we make a left, you will start to see all the sun loungers. During the mornings, it's not bad, so if you want a morning jog or a morning walk, you'll be fine. But as the day progresses and people start coming up here to sunbathe and everything, it almost becomes impossible to take a jog along here because it's just crowded with people. So keep that in mind. Another thing too is this really shows how long this ship really is. I have been on several cruise ships now over the course of last year. I started cruising again once the pandemic started coming to an end, and I've been on the Voyager class, the Vista class, and everything in between. And this was the first ship that I have been on where the size really showed that this was really a big ship. And we did this walk a lot, and after doing this walk a couple of times to get to one side to the other, I started missing the mid-sized ships. and I thought I was gonna just be all over the mega-sized ships, but after walking back and forth after day 2, I was over it. I missed my mid-sized ship, if I was honest. Anyways, here you'll find the Sky Lounge, which is the poolside bar. And then another thing about the Sky Lounge is there's a staircase that goes up to the roof for another additional area for sunbathing. This will probably be the best area to sunbathe, but it's also a very good spot to come to at night if you just want to watch the stars as well. In fact, we did that one night and it was just really, really relaxing and very, very beautiful to just lay under the stars and watch the night sky go by. So all the way forward, you'll head back into the ship and past the forward atrium and forward elevators, and you will eventually run into the spa. Now, the spa was closed when I was doing this tour, and so I didn't get any footage of it, so I do apologize for that. Now on to deck 13, which is basically where all the outdoor activities are. So in the forward section of deck 13, you will find more sun loungers, but besides sun loungers, you will actually find a couple of day beds up here as well. It's the only area of the ship with day beds. So if you're looking for one, this is where you're gonna find them, and you could thank me now because I did search the entire ship, and so I can confirm this is where they are and the only place they are. Besides that, you will also run into the mini golf, which is in the very forward section of deck 13. And once again, it's themed, it's visually pleasing, and it really stands out, but that's expected from Royal Caribbean. They also have outdoor showers as well if you just want to cool off, and that's what these giant arches are. There's one on either side of the ship. Now, deck 13 is a split deck, meaning there's a forward section and the aft section. And the aft section of the ship is where all the activities are. And so this is where a lot of the teens and kids are going to head, and it's actually right above the kids club. So basically the aft section of the Independence of the Seas is really designed for kids, and to kind of put them in that area of the ship, and they have enough activities to keep them entertained throughout the entire cruise. So what do I mean by this, and what's back here? Well, let's start with a rock climbing wall and a basketball court, and because that's immediately what you run into when you come back here. You also have the sky pad, which is that giant orange sphere on the top of the building right there, and what that basically is it's a trampoline park. They have trampolines and bungee cords, and you jump up and down. If the VRs are working, you could put on a VR headset, and it gives you a virtual reality experience as you're jumping up and down on the trampoline. So unfortunately for me, the VR headset wasn't working, so it is what it is. But they also have a little obstacle course where you could climb up on pads and then climb back down. And then they also have the world famous Flow Rider, which I think by now everyone knows you could boogie board or even surf back here. So yes, that still baffles me. You could go surfing on a cruise ship. Yeah, what can't you do on a cruise ship nowadays? And then you also have your water slides as well back here. So like I said, overall there is a lot of stuff going on the back end of this ship, and it's all the extreme activities as well, and that's why this area is also known as the sports court. Now on to deck 14, or what I like to call it, the Viking Crown Lounge. So you'll find the suite lounge up here, and unfortunately I'm not staying in a suite, so I couldn't check that out for you guys. Sorry about that. But you'll also find the Oliver or Twist lounge up here as well, which is essentially becomes the nightclub on board the ship, and they also do karaoke on here. And the views up here as well are spectacular. This lounge is what makes a Royal Caribbean ship for me. They have always been known for the Viking Crown Lounge on every single Royal Caribbean ship. In fact, I will even say if it doesn't have this lounge, it is not a Royal Caribbean ship. So, sorry guys, the Quantum class doesn't have the lounge, and it bugs me that it doesn't have the lounge. And lastly, Deck 15, which is the famous escape room on board the ship. Unfortunately, I didn't do the escape room on this cruise, so I couldn't really get footage of it, so sorry guys. And there you have it. That is the Independence of the Seas from Deck 2 all the way up to Deck 15. Let me know what you think of this ship. Have you sailed on her? Have you not? Are you booking a cruise? Are you going to consider another cruise ship after watching this? I'm just curious. Just let me know. And if you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I leave you with this: why not travel?